Hi guys, it's Kim here, and I'm with Paul Sage, who is the creative director for the Elder Scrolls Online. Hi Paul.
Hi Kim, how are you?
I'm alright, thanks. So a very easy question to start off with, what is the Elder Scrolls Online?
So the Elder Scrolls Online is the continuation of the Elder Scrolls saga. It's the follow-up to Skyrim, and it's the first time in the series that you've been able to play with friends.
So it's an MMO now. So why did you guys decide to go online?
Well, I think that's almost the the next sort of step. For me personally, what I want to do in Elder Scrolls is play with my friends, right? You have those experiences where you're like, oh, this would be so cool, or you tell somebody, it's at water cooler talking like, oh, last night I killed this amazing thing, and I wish somebody were there, right? But now you get somebody there, so it's really fun to have somebody along with you.
Right now, in the MMO market, we're seeing almost like another rise in MMOs. So what makes the Elder Scrolls Online different? How does it stand out?
I think there's lots of things that make it different, but first is really just kind of the way we analyze, how we wanted to bring Elder Scrolls into the online space. So one of the things, that we perceive when we play, of course, the teams play MMOs themselves, and one of the things that we look at are like, for instance, combat. Mm-hmm. You played a little bit today, and we're trying to make our combat very active, so you're looking into the world space, mm-hmm. right, versus actually looking at, all these elements on your screen. And so the combat was one of those things where we thought, hey, this is something that we can make sure it feels good, feels fluid, feels fun, and feels very active. We have things like the way you get new skills in the game, right? The way you progress in the game is very different. Yes, you pick a class kind of at the beginning, but that's really just a template. So like if you played Oblivion, you still picked a template out, but then as you progress in the game, you gain all these new skills. There's a lot of different things. So those are just two things that are kind of separating us out in the market. And I think there's a lot more. I think it's really about the experience more than any one individual feature. It's really about kind of the holistic game.
Okay, and just kind of you mentioned combat there. And for me, so I just had 2 hours hands-on, which was very eventful. And the thing that was immediately obvious to me was I'm someone who's played a lot of World of Warcraft and a lot of Final Fantasy XIV, and they're what I would call probably more traditional like MMOs. So it's all hotbars and almost muscle memory. When you kind of put everything on your hotbar, you memorize it, and you kind of know that. But this immediately was very different. It's a lot more. It's pretty much just like playing Skyrim, but in an MMO. So could you tell me a little bit more about that?
Sure. That was one of the goals, right? Was getting you in immediately. So hopefully, you picked it up fairly quickly. I do think that there's a level of mastery if you're, trying to come from, say, a more traditional MMO into, this, kind of like a Skyrim environment. And the controls are there, and they're put there. The reason why we have the controls the way we do is so, again, it feels more active and engaging in the world. As you look around, you're just having to move your mouse. But there's something, I know this sounds silly, but there's something about a left mouse click being that attack and holding it down to make it a strong attack, or blocking with the right mouse button, that to me makes it feel more engaging at a certain level. Like I feel like I'm actually controlling my character a bit more. And I think that was one of the things that was really important, is getting you in control of your character. It's almost a mantra, right? Like you get to control the way you get to play the way you want to play, and really control your character. So I think that's been really important for us.
And again, I think that was something from the character creation that kind of threw me in a good way, was that normally in an MMO you choose to be a mage, and that means you get to only equip staffs and robes and that kind of thing. But in this one, I could be a mage, but I could also equip a sword and a shield, and I thought that was fantastic and very Elder Scrollsy. So how far does that go? Like, can you just do any combination? Can you do anything?
Right. So at the beginning of the game, you pick your race and you pick your class, and there you go. Now you've picked your 3 skill trees or your 3 skill lines for the class. But then you have all of those other skill lines. You have your weapon skill lines that you saw. You have your armor skill lines. If you become a werewolf or a vampire, you have those skill lines. If you join the Fighters Guild or Mages Guild, you have those skill lines. And so as you progress throughout the world, you gain skills in all these ways. And so you'll notice we have a limited shortcut bar, which was the 5. The reason for that is we want you to be able to kind of play a role, so to speak, right? So if you have this huge deck of abilities that you're selecting from, then there's a hand that you play with. and then later on you'll get a weapon switch, which allows you to have another shortcut bar, so you very quickly just switch or swap those out, and then you have another role you can take on. And so the way you play, the kind of roles you want to play, could differ from night to night based off your character. One of the things that, you know, I personally feel about RPGs is I get attached to my character, right?
Yeah.
And so I don't want to have to switch characters. I know a lot of people love alts. There's nothing wrong with them. You can make alts in Elder Scrolls, but we want to have you have that ability to keep that character and kind of play different roles. So if you want to play a Templar playing with a bow, right? There'll be a ranged DPS class instead of a healing, and we'll have the Nightblade be the healer. And we're just doing that to kind of emphasize the fact that it's really your choice. So you play the way, again, you want to play.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds perfect to me, because as someone who plays a mage a lot, like, I've always wanted to be able to equip like some really badass armor, and I see, you know, all the kind of knights going around in that, and I'm just like, well, I've got a robe. That's nice. So fantastic. I can't wait to get more into that. But kind of taking a step back, can you tell me a little bit about the setting and the story? So kind of what are we doing in this?
Yeah, so this actually takes place 1,000 years before Skyrim, right? And there's this period of time, it's called the Interregnum, when there's no emperor sitting on the throne, right? And so we wanted to actually have a PvP game that was meaningful. And so this lore just kind of all started matching up. And so this takes place when 3 alliances have kind of formed to crown their own emperor. And so our PvP game kind of hits that, you know, we want to crown an emperor, and that's what you're actually trying to do. So as a player, you're trying to, I guess, kind of hit the top of the PvP ladder and become the emperor. Now there's like a lot of different stories, you know, very typical Elder Scrolls. There's also your personal story as a player. So when you start off, today you didn't get to play kind of the opening sequence, but basically it's not a secret that Mola Ball has stolen your soul and you want to get your soul back. And so that opening sequence is going to talk about that, and that's what we call our main story. And so if you're a solo player, you'll play through that whole thing as a solo experience, right? So when you're on your own, you have some time and you want to play that, you'll go back to that main quest experience. So yeah, so Mola Ball, the big Daedra, is the one who stole in your soul. There's all sorts of other Daedra running around. So we have, let's say, Hircine makes appearance, Nocturnal makes appearances. So yeah, there's all the Daedric Princes are back and, you know, kind of giving the world of Nirn fits.
Okay, and so you mentioned the alliances there. So what, I know that there are 3, so can you tell me a little bit more about the 3 alliances, what races are in them, what's going on with that?
Sure, so the Altmeri Dominion has the High Elves or the Altmer, where they have the Wood Elves or the Bosmer, and they have the Khajiit. And they kind of want to crown an emperor because they think that they really know how things should be run, you know? The world's kind of fallen to pieces, and, you know, only the Altmer are able to kind of put it back together. The Ebonheart Pact, on the other hand, is kind of a race that, or an alliance that really should have never happened. These are races that don't like each other. But with the Akaviri invasion that took place before this time period, they're just tired of their lands being invaded, and so they've kind of put aside old differences to work together. And so that's the Argonians, that's the Nords, and that's the Dunmer, or the Dark Elves. And then finally we have the Daggerfall Covenant, and the Daggerfall Covenant is more of kind of a, almost got together because of trade, right? And so they want to rule the empire because, well, they should. They think of themselves as the rightful heirs. And so we have the Bretons there, we have the Redguard there, and then the Orcs. And so, you know, the Orcs are kind of promised by High King Emmerich that they'll get back Orsinium, which is their big motivating factor for being a part of that alliance.
Okay.
Ask a question.
There's a lot in there. So all these races that are involved, they're ones that we've seen before in the Elder Scrolls series franchise. Are there going to be any new races, any new faces, anything like that?
There will be new faces, certainly. New races, you'll have to wait and see.
Oh, you big tease. and on that note as well, so obviously the whole game's set in Tamriel. Are there going to be any new areas to Tamriel, or is it pretty much everything we've seen so far across the series?
Oh my gosh, so Tamriel is the continent, right, and it's on Nirn, and so it's huge. So for us to go into new territory, we haven't even fully explored all of Tamriel at this point, you know, and that's one of the beautiful things about this. So right now we're going to be in Tamriel, but you'll see areas that you've never seen before. You'll see areas in Black Marsh that you haven't seen. There's actually areas of Morrowind people haven't seen. You know, so yeah, there's lots of places people haven't seen in the games, you know, maybe since I want to say, you know, Arena, you know, and maybe places that they never even saw in Arena. So yeah, there's a lot of different new places.
Sure. And so what's it like going back to those kind of older locations that come from the older titles, and so because of the hardware limitations at the time, look a bit rough now? What's it like as a developer to kind of go back and revisit those areas and flesh them out, make them look good? What's it like?
As a developer, it's an amazing challenge and it's fun. As a fan, it's great. You know, you really get to see what you know, what does Daggerfall look like now? What would that be? You know, it's probably a little bit closer to, you know, what we all kind of pictured in our own heads. And so I think that's fun. I think it's great. You know, I think our team has done an amazing job of bringing the world to life.
What kind of endgame situation are we working towards? I mean, I've heard the word siege dropped a lot. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Right, so you remember I said play the way you want to play, right? So I'll try to do this quickly, but if you're a solo player, we really feel strongly that you should be able to play the game, you know, solo if you want to. So you'll be able to go to, say, finish your alliance and hit level 50, which is kind of our level cap.
Yeah.
Then you'll get to go play another alliance with that same character, but at level 50. So you'll get to experience completely new content. Then if you do that alliance, you get to play an entirely new alliance, right? So that's for the solo player. Then we look at small group play, which is, say, 4 players together, right? With that group, what we feel is that we have what we call our master dungeons, and to some extent even our adventure zones. And so they'll go through dungeons together, but then as they reach the top level of that, they'll have the master dungeons, which are the second half of the dungeons they already did. So they'll open new areas in the dungeons, new stories. That's, you know, it's pretty cool when you get to have a cliffhanger ending on one dungeon, and then you come back and you see, oh, this is how it, you know, wraps up. Third thing is we have our large group. Which is our adventure zone. Even though a lot of the zone will be kind of meant for 4 players, there'll be these areas which are more of what people kind of think of when they think of raids.
Yeah.
That will support somewhere between 16 and 24 people. I mean, we're going back and forth on that number right now. And so there'll be that content for them. And then, of course, then there's the PvP thing, which is all the keep sieges and everything else. And that's because it's PvP, it's not the veteran game. I mean, you can jump in at level 10.
Yeah.
But it's such an ongoing new experience because of how players are way more unpredictable than anything I could do.
Yeah.
That's what really will help keep that going as a veteran game itself.
Okay. And so you just mentioned sieges there, keep sieges. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Sure. So in Cyrodiil, we have the same kind of theory of like a solo person, you know, a small group force, and a large group force. And so the large group battles are really fun in how they take shape, because you can have up to 200 people on the screen before you get degradation, right? So what we're saying is, like, on our min spec, 200 people before your frame rate drops. So you can still have more than 200 people at a place.
Wow.
And these sieges involve things like there's keeps, there's catapults, there's ballista, and there's lots of things that you know, boiling oil, all the things you need for a really good party, right? So I mean, I think the keep sieges are going to be a huge hit with people because I think it's just fun to fight other people intrinsically, and then to have these meta or these objectives that go along with it really make the experience just pretty fun and pretty different.
And with all the siege weapons, does crafting play into that? Like, can you, if you go through the crafting system and level up, you know, from the tiny objects, can you build siege weapons?
Yeah. So crafting, the way it works is you can absolutely kind of build add-ons, you know, especially to weapons, and always improve it. So our crafters, what we want to do with them is make sure that they're contributors to the economy, like huge contributors to the economy, and are actually can play their own meta game, be involved in trade. And so, yeah, there's a huge role for crafters in the game.
I know you're separate teams from Skyrim to the Elder Scrolls Online, but was there anything in Skyrim that the previous developers perhaps couldn't fit in there, you know, that has been passed on to you, or did you take any ideas that made it to the cutting room floor for them?
I don't know that we took any ideas directly. I'm trying to think, you know, it's always hard to know when you're kind of at this stage, like where all of the nascent ideas were. I mean, so much of our game has been informed by, you know, the history of it. But I don't think there's anything that they had on their cutting room floor that we took in.
Okay, fair enough. And one question I'm getting a lot from my viewers was, can you import your character from Skyrim into the Elder Scrolls Online? Not necessarily in terms of skills, but aesthetically, can you transfer them over?
We don't have that ability, I'm sorry.
Fair enough. So could you just clarify for me what platforms this is going to be out on?
Absolutely. So we will release in spring of 2014, PC, Mac, Xbox One and PS4.
Okay. And so if I'm playing on a PS4 and you're playing on a PC, will I be able to be on the same server and play the same game? Will I be able to raid with you, that kind of thing?
No, those communities are going to be separate.
Okay. Fair enough. And on that note, what kind of payment method have you guys decided how you're going to go for payment yet? Is it going to be subscription, monthly subscription? Is it going to be like Guild Wars 2 where it's a one-off payment? Any ideas on that yet?
We actually haven't released our plans for our business at this point.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Paul, and I can't wait to see you in Tamriel.
All right, thank you so much.
Okay, cheers.
And as enemies rise faster than allies, salvation cannot come from one hero alone.